The evening was cool, with a gentle breeze rustling through the trees outside. Marcus sat on the couch, the glow of the television reflecting on his face. The day had been uneventful, a routine Marcus had come to appreciate. But as he flipped through channels aimlessly, his phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a message from an old friend, Greg, whom Marcus hadn't spoken to in years. "Hey man, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I saw Lena tonight with someone else. Thought you should know." The message sat on the screen like a ticking bomb. Marcus's heart sank, and a sick feeling churned in his stomach. He reread the message, hoping he had misunderstood, but the words didn't change. Lena, his wife of 8 years, had always been the picture of trustworthiness, or so he thought. They had their ups and downs, like any marriage, but Marcus never doubted her loyalty. Yet Greg's message gnawed at him. He wanted to dismiss it, but deep down, a seed of suspicion began to sprout. Instead of responding to Greg immediately, Marcus decided to confront Lena when she came home. The hours ticked by, and his nerves felt like they were stretched to the breaking point. Lena finally walked through the door around 10 p.m., her cheerful demeanor clashing with the storm brewing inside Marcus. "Hey," she greeted, setting her bag on the counter. "What a day. Work's been a nightmare lately." Marcus studied her, noting the faint smear of lipstick and the scent of perfume that wasn't hers. His heart pounded, but he played it cool. "Tough day, huh?" he said, his voice calm but tinged with tension. Lena nodded, oblivious. "Yeah, I'm just gonna shower and crash." Marcus waited until she disappeared into the bathroom before grabbing her phone from her bag. He wasn't proud of himself, but his gut demanded answers. As he unlocked the device, a code she had once freely shared with him, his worst fears began to materialize. Messages between Lena and someone named Ryan filled the screen. The texts were flirty, suggestive, and left little room for misinterpretation. Photos, hotel bookings, and even a few cryptic messages about covering tracks painted a clear picture of betrayal. The dates matched nights she had claimed to be working late. The shower stopped running, and Marcus quickly returned the phone to her bag. His hands trembled, and his breath was shallow as the enormity of what he had discovered sank in. The next morning, Marcus decided to meet Greg in person. They hadn't seen each other in years, but Greg's concern for his old friend was genuine. "I didn't want to ruin your day," Greg said as they sat in a quiet corner of a coffee shop. "But when I saw her with that guy, they weren't exactly trying to be discreet." Marcus nodded, his jaw clenched. "You did the right thing telling me. I found messages on her phone. She's been lying to me for months." Greg leaned forward, lowering his voice. "What are you gonna do?" "I don't know yet," Marcus admitted. "But I'm not going to let this slide." Over the next few days, Marcus kept his discovery to himself, observing Lena with a sharp eye. Her behavior, once unremarkable, now seemed laden with tells, a nervous laugh, evasive answers, and sudden, unexplained absences. Each instance added fuel to the fire of his betrayal. Marcus began collecting evidence. He tracked her movements, documenting inconsistencies in her stories. He even hired a private investigator, knowing he needed undeniable proof before confronting her. The PI worked quickly, providing photos and reports that confirmed everything Marcus had feared. Lena was deeply entangled with Ryan, a co-worker of all people. The betrayal wasn't a fleeting lapse in judgment, it was a calculated, ongoing affair. One night, Marcus decided to confront her. He waited until she was home, relaxed and unsuspecting. They sat down to dinner, and Marcus kept his tone casual. "How's work been?" he asked, his eyes locking onto hers. "Busy as ever," Lena replied, not missing a beat. "We've got a big project coming up, so I've been swamped." Marcus leaned back, his expression unreadable. "That's interesting, because I talked to someone today who said otherwise." Lena froze, her fork hovering mid-air. What do you mean?" "I mean Ryan," Marcus said, his voice sharp. "Do you want to tell me why my wife is sneaking around with another man?" Lena's face drained of color. Marcus, Don't lie to me, he interrupted, slamming his hand on the table. I know everything. The texts, the hotels, the nights you said you were working late. It's all there, Lena. I trusted you, and this is how you repay me? Tears welled up in Lena's eyes, but Marcus didn't flinch. I made a mistake, she stammered. I was feeling neglected, and Ryan was just... He listened to me. Neglected? Marcus spat. Do you have any idea how much I've sacrificed for this marriage? How hard I've worked to give us a good life? And you throw it all away for some guy who listened to you? Lena broke down, sobbing into her hands. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she cried. I'll end it, Marcus. Please, just give me another chance. But Marcus wasn't interested in apologies or second chances. The damage was done, and forgiveness wasn't something he could offer. Not now, and maybe not ever. You ended this marriage the moment you decided to betray me, he said coldly. We're done. Marcus moved out the next day, taking only what he needed. He filed for divorce and ensured the evidence of Lena's affair was included in the proceedings. But he wasn't content to simply walk away. Lena's reckless actions had shattered his life, and Marcus was determined to make sure she felt the full weight of her choices. Marcus wasn't the kind of man to let things slide. The betrayal had cut too deep, and he couldn't stomach the idea of Lena walking away from their marriage with her reputation intact. She had made her choices, and now it was time for her to face the consequences. The divorce proceedings moved quickly, thanks to the mountain of evidence Marcus had collected. The photos, text messages, and private investigators' reports left no room for Lena to contest the terms. She tried to argue for leniency, pleading with Marcus in private. I'm sorry, Marcus, she said one evening as they met to discuss the settlement. Her voice cracked with desperation. Please, don't take everything. I made a mistake, but I'm still the mother of your children. Marcus's expression remained cold. You should have thought about that before you betrayed me, he said. This isn't about punishment, Lena. It's about consequences. The court awarded Marcus the house, most of their joint assets, and primary custody of their 2 children. Lena was left with the bare minimum, a small apartment and limited visitation rights. But Marcus wasn't finished. He wanted the world to know the truth about what she had done. One evening, Marcus hosted a dinner party at his home, inviting close friends, family, and even some of Lena's former colleagues. Lena had always enjoyed being the center of attention, but Marcus intended to turn the spotlight into something she would never forget. As the guests mingled, Marcus stood to give a toast. He thanked everyone for coming and expressed his gratitude for their support during a difficult time. I know many of you have been wondering what happened between Lena and me, he said, his voice steady and deliberate. I believe in transparency, so I want to share the truth. Lena, who had been invited under the pretense of reconciliation, froze in her seat. Her face turned pale as Marcus began recounting the details of her affair. He didn't hold back, presenting the facts with the same precision he had used to gather evidence. The room fell silent, the weight of his words settling heavily over the crowd. When Marcus finished, there was no applause, no murmurs of sympathy, only the collective shock of everyone present. Lena's humiliation was complete, her carefully constructed facade shattered in front of the people who once admired her. In the weeks that followed, Lena's life unraveled further. News of her affair spread quickly, tarnishing her reputation among friends and colleagues. Ryan, the man she had risked everything for, ghosted her as soon as the scandal broke. She was left alone, her social circle shrinking as people distanced themselves from the fallout. Lena tried to rebuild her life, but the damage was done. She struggled to hold down a job, her name tainted by whispers of betrayal and infidelity. The once confident woman Marcus had married was now a shadow of her former self, burdened by regret and shame. Meanwhile, Marcus thrived. He poured his energy into his career, taking on new projects and earning a promotion that allowed him to provide a comfortable life for his children. He also focused on his health, joining a gym and rediscovering hobbies he had abandoned during his marriage. Photography became his passion, capturing moments of beauty and resilience that mirrored his own journey. Through therapy, Marcus found peace with his emotions. He learned to let go of the anger that had once consumed him, channeling it into personal growth instead. His children became his anchor, their laughter and love reminding him that life still held joy and meaning. One day, while attending a photography exhibit, Marcus met Claire. She was warm, intelligent, and shared his love for the arts. Their connection was instant, but Marcus approached the relationship cautiously. He wasn't ready to dive into something serious, but Claire respected his pace, offering companionship without pressure. As their bond grew, Marcus found himself smiling more. Claire's presence was a reminder that love could be kind, honest, and healing. With her, he felt seen and valued in a way he hadn't experienced in years. Lena, on the other hand, remained trapped in the consequences of her actions. She reached out to Marcus once, sending a letter filled with apologies and pleas for forgiveness. She admitted to her mistakes and expressed her regret for destroying their marriage. Marcus read the letter but didn't respond. He felt no need to revisit the past or offer her the closure she sought. His focus was on the future, his children, his career, and the life he was building with Claire. Years later, Marcus stood on the balcony of his new home, watching the sunset with Claire by his side. The vibrant hues of orange and pink painted the sky, a symbol of hope and renewal. He held Claire's hand, his heart full of gratitude for the journey that had brought him here. "Do you ever think about the past?" Claire asked softly, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "Sometimes," Marcus admitted, "but not in the way I used to. It's part of who I am, but it doesn't define me anymore." Claire smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "You've come a long way, Marcus." "So have you," he replied, his voice filled with warmth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Marcus felt a profound sense of peace. The betrayal that once shattered his world had become a stepping stone to a life filled with love, resilience, and purpose.